How many doors can a property manager manage? No, that's not the opening of a bad joke. It's a question that we often ask in our industry, but I don't like the question, and I want to tell you why and how I would answer the question. Good to see you, my fellow property managers. Mark Cunningham at Grace Property Management. I think you have to know the answer to 3 other questions before you can effectively answer this question. So what are those questions? Well, question number 1 is simply this. What is the amount of back office support that you're providing to this property manager or these property managers? Meaning, if you are a one-man or a one-woman operation shop, the question of how many doors can you manage is very, very different than it is for a different size company, larger company that maybe has multiple people. Because if it's a one-man, one-woman shop, what are the jobs that you as the owner-operator have? Yes, you're the property manager. You're also doing all the accounting. You're also doing all the leasing. You're also the chief janitor. You're emptying the trash cans. You are your own tech person. You pay all your own bills. You open the front door at night. You lock it up. You're the last one to leave. Whew, you're doing a lot of things. Therefore, you're not going to be able to manage as many properties as a larger scale operation where they outsource some of these things. So the bigger an operation gets, the more potentially companies can outsource more of these things. So for example, in our company, our property managers have a fair amount of back office support. They don't do leasing. We have a leasing team that handles that. They don't do accounting. We have an accounting team that does that. They don't do lease renewals. We have a person that works on lease renewals for them. So the more you can take off the plate of a property manager, the more properties they can manage and focus on the big tasks that they're focused on. So we have to know the answer to this question. How much back office support does this imaginary property manager have? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is the amount of automation. How much is automated in the business? Now, yes, this is technology, it's automation, whatever you want to put in place, how streamlined is it, how tight are your processes, however you want to phrase this. But the idea, for example, on a very basic level is, let's pretend you're managing 100 properties. Do all 100 tenants physically come into your office and hand you a check every month? Or do all 100 of those tenants pay online? That's a very simple form of automation, but you can imagine the amount of time savings if all those 100 people go online and pay online versus every 100 people, every one of them coming in, writing a check, you give them a receipt, you enter it in the software, you make up a bank deposit, you drive it to the bank. Just that one little piece can be the difference between 20% of your time. And you look at that concept and you multiply it around inspections, around leasing, around rent collection, around all the tasks that we do. So the more automation you can put in place, obviously, the more your property managers' doors can manage. That's question number 2. Question number 3, and probably the most important to determine how many doors a property manager can manage is this. What is the level of owner involvement? This is huge. This is huge. If you manage 100 doors and you have 100 owners on one portfolio, and on another portfolio you manage 100 doors, but that portfolio has one owner, 100 owners, one owner, same size portfolio, which one's going to be easier? The one with one owner is going to take a fraction of the time that this one takes because you have the number of owners. So it's not only the level of involvement of owners, it's the number of owners within the portfolio. It's a two-part answer to this one. How many owners are involved, and the less owners, the more the property manager can manage, and then also the level of involvement. Do you have to call? Does this PM over here managing 100 doors with 100 owners, does he have to call every owner to get approval on the lease before it's signed on every one of them? Does he have to call every owner before you spend more than $400 on repairs? If so, this person can't manage a whole lot of doors because they're spending all the time talking to owner clients, getting permission on things. So the more you can structure your company to where you as the property manager are making wise decisions on behalf of your owners, you're acting as the true agent, making those decisions, and the less involvement the owner clients have, the more doors a property manager can manage. Now keep in mind, if a property manager over here has 100 doors with 100 owners, and this property manager over here has 100 doors with one owner, you may say, oh, it's so streamlined, I want to be this guy, I want to be this gal. What's the risk over here? The risk over here is if one client, one owner decides to leave, sells his properties, fire you, you just went from 100 to 0. Over here, if one owner client decides to leave, fire you, sell property, you went from 100 to 99. So there's a balance. There's a trade-off that we want to be aware of. Now, this question comes up often. Well, Mark, what about teams? What about property management teams? What if I have a system where I have like a property manager and assistant property manager, and they work together so they can do more of the tasks? Can they manage more properties? How many more properties should they be able to manage because I'm teaming them up? That's a fair question. Before I answer that question, let me thank the sponsor for our video, expertise.com. Guys, you got to be found online. Your property management must be findable. So if you Google property management in your area, where do you rank? And also, where does expertise.com rank? They're like a ranking system, an online ranking place for property managers. You can get listed on their site. And oftentimes they will come up before many, many property management companies. So go on to expertise.com. If you're not on their site, you need to be. They've got different models and different levels, and it's a cool service. But you've got to be findable. They can help you get findable. They help promote you on the internet. Okay, back to our question. What about PM teams? There's no right or wrong with this. I've talked to a lot of property management companies. If you're doing teams and it's working for you, great. Congratulations, I would say you're in the minority. Because most of the folks I've talked to in the property management industry that have tried the team concept, not quite as smooth as they envisioned it to be in the front. Because you have another communication piece, right? You have more back and forth. Well, what's the assistant property manager doing? What's the property manager doing? And then they have to communicate back and forth. So we don't have time in this video to get into that aspect of things. If it's working, again, great. But what you as a business owner, what you need to remember is if you've got a team, you need to run the numbers and ensure that that team of individuals is doing more than if you just had two separate property managers each managing a portfolio. And there's pros and cons. Maybe we'll do a future video on pros and cons of teams versus pros and cons of individual property managers. I'll tell you, we do not use team systems. We've got one property manager. They manage their portfolio with a whole bunch of back-end support out of the office that way. So for you, company owner, just make sure your team concept makes more sense from an operational standpoint and from an income standpoint than if you had two separate property managers. And if it does, great. Go all for it. If it doesn't, you may want to give it a second thought there. Okay, last thing, and then I will let you get out of here. What does this all mean? Okay, Mark, so you've talked a lot about it. You haven't answered the silly question. Mark, well, again, it's hard to answer until you know the answers to those three questions, but I will tell you, for us, our property managers in our structure are independent contractors. We have leasing team. We have a resident services coordinator position. We've got a director of accounting position. So we outsource a lot of those things. They don't do inspections, occupied property inspections. They don't do the leasing. We want them to focus on the main things they can do. You're saying, Mark, what are those main things? I'll tell you how to go to my website, download our little system manual, and you can see exactly what they do. But for our system, our property managers, kind of that magic number is about 100. 100 doors. Now we've got some PMs that manage, I think, 125, 130 doors. We've got other property managers that manage a little less. Why? Because of the things I just said. Number of owners, involvement of owners, automation, and for us, it's also a lifestyle issue. Does the property manager want to work real hard and make a bunch of money, or do they want to go a little bit easier and not make as much money, but not work as hard? So we can structure it whatever works best for a property manager. Here's how you can see how we structure it. Jump on our website, pmbuild.com, go under the, I don't even know what tab it is, one of the tabs, and you'll see system manuals, I think is what it is. And you can download a sample of our actual property manager system manual. It'll show you the six different major functions for our property managers. The things that we say, hey, these are the things you are responsible for. Things like owner relations, things like maintenance. You handle these. Everything else is outsourced by other positions within the company. And this is not a right or wrong. You do it however you want to do it for your company. But if you want to see how we structure it, you're welcome to jump on pmbuild.com. Hey, my friends, I hope that is helpful for you as we head into a new year. I wish you success, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.